What is going on, everyone? Welcome into a Football Friday show here on the Bettor Sports Betting live stream on YouTube, Fantasy Alarm, Bettor Sports Network. Thanks for everyone for joining in on a Friday. Got NFL Week 16 bets, props, picks, predictions, all to break down here. Got Howard Bender with me as always on Fridays. What's up, man?
What's going on, Servo? It's kind of a whacked out little weekend here, right? We had the game last night, which we were in on the Rams and we were fine there. I mean, the over ended up hitting because the defense
Garbage
took their
time
foot off the
touchdown.
gas, right? Like Carr keeps doing this. He did this like 2 weeks ago also when he was playing Carolina. It was like 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and it just kind of screws you over on that. Like teams are, manhandling the Saints, and then they're like letting their foot off the gas, and that's when Carr is at his best. So, but I mean, listen, it was it was an interesting game to say the least. I think we had very good beads on a lot of things. I know your Kyron Williams rushing yards prop hit. My rushing and receiving yards did not, because they just didn't throw to him. They didn't need to throw to him. So, I think we had a good Thursday, right? But now we got like a 2-game slate on Saturday. Then we got, 10 games on Sunday, and then another 3 on Monday. So it's all kind of spread out. The injury news is shaky at best for a lot of players, which makes it very difficult to sit here on a Friday and tell you how to bet a game on Sunday or Monday when you're still waiting for like 4 different players to clear concussion protocol right now, 3 of whom are quarterbacks.
Right. I mean, the Trevor Lawrence one with the Jaguars is definitely one that's notable, and we'll get to that game shortly here. See if one of us has a pick on it, but I know for me personally, with the Tyreek Hill news, waiting on that to see if he's definitely going to play or not for the Dolphins. I wanted to go with the Dolphins. I'm not making a pick on that game, but that's one to monitor. If he is playing for sure, then I'd probably lean Dolphins there and go with that. But I couldn't lock it up here on a Friday with all the just uncertainty in that situation. But yeah, I mean, we got a ton of backup quarterbacks still rolling with a lot of these teams. It's going to be fun. If you have any of your own bets, picks, props, throw them in the chat here as we go along. Whether you're got a pick on one of the games we're talking about or anything else, throw them in the chat here as we roll here. All right, let's get into this Saturday, Sunday, Monday slates here. What do you got going first for one of your picks?
I mean, I'll just start with Christmas Day, right? And just hit you with the Chiefs -10 against the Raiders. Stop running around and saying, well, the Chiefs don't cover big spreads at home. Go back and look at what their record against the spread is at home this year, and then tell me, they don't do it, because it's not true. Right. So, I'm going to go against this. The last time the Chiefs played the Raiders, they slapped the crap out of them. It was like 31-17 or something like that. The Chiefs are in must-win situations right now because they want the home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and they've got some teams, some lesser teams that they're facing. So they need to make just statements, get that momentum rolling, and just hammer it, right? So, laying 10 points to the Raiders right now doesn't really affect me all that much. They managed to deal with it the last time and covered a big spread against the Raiders. I think it was like a 9-point spread the last time, right? And they had no problem doing it. So I'm backing Patrick Mahomes, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid. I'm bagging those guys for this bet, and I just think the Chiefs just beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, I think I took the Raiders in that first meeting a few weeks ago when I think they got up early on the Chiefs, but then the Chiefs just kind of turned it on and covered the spread, won easy. I feel like a similar thing is coming here, that they're gonna win pretty big over still Aiden O'Connell under center for the Raiders here.
Right. And possibly still Zamir White, who had a fine game last Thursday, and he'll be well rested for this one here, but he's still Zamir White.
Yeah.
I don't even know what else to say about that. He's not Josh Jacobs. He doesn't run like Josh Jacobs. And while, yes, the Chiefs' DVOA against the run is super weak at best, it's still freaking Zamir White. And if the Chiefs go up big early, what are the Raiders going to do? Forget the Raiders. Chiefs -10.
And listen, you got to forget about what just happened with the Raiders with that huge win and demolishing of the Chargers.
Oh, I didn't even I forgot about it even. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about that.
I don't
So
have the numbers in front of me right now, but I do know like historically teams coming off of like huge blowout wins like that usually don't cover the next week and usually are just trending downwards because they're inflated. The odds are inflated because of what they just did. But here as 10-point underdogs, I think there's a reason the spread is that big. All right, I'll go to Saturday. The first game on Saturday here is Steelers and Bengals. And listen, Mason Rudolph under center for the Steelers. Don't feel totally great about it, but I got to back these Mike Tomlin underdog trends here. And that's basically what I'm doing here. +3 at home as home dogs in a divisional game for Tomlin. I just have, we talked about this on Wednesday, whether, maybe he's getting fired at the end of the season. We'll see. But turning to Rudolph is kind of one of his last-ditch efforts here to get this team turned around. I'm just kind of banking on him having the team, up and ready for this game. Also just selling high on the Bengals right now. 2 of their 3 wins with Jake Browning under center in these past weeks have come in overtime. I just think there's a little bit of luck on that side of things. Last week against the Vikings, they probably should have lost that game, but, ended up pulling it out. The crazy T. Higgins touchdown at the end there. But honestly, I had the Vikings in that game. I was happy to get a push, obviously in overtime with the +3, but I just think it's a little sell high on the Bengals. And I'm waiting for Jake Browning just to come back down to earth a little bit. I'm not totally buying in on that. He's, the next Brock Purdy, this unknown quarterback coming in and just kind of turning things around for a playoff caliber team. But check out these trends. And shout out to, our friends. If you're in the betting space, Action Network. This is where I got some of these trends because they do a great job of compiling stuff over there. But from week 5 on in his career, Mike Tomlin, as an underdog, 70% cover rate against the spread. At home as a home dog, 79% cover rate against the spread. And then in divisional games at home as a home dog, 81% cover rate. This is just tried and true as Tomlin as a home dog. And I'm chasing these trends again. This year, by the way, Steelers are 2-0 against the spread as a home divisional dog. So I'm going with it again, +3 on the Steelers. Maybe we get a push, but I think they could win this game outright, honestly. So give me the Steelers.
yeah, I was definitely looking at this game as well. I think it's very intriguing, especially because, I'm sure a lot of the public money, I haven't even looked to see where the public money is, if it's on Cincinnati here, because it's Mason Rudolph. It's on Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got Mason Rudolph. Kazee just got, suspended indefinitely. Minka Fitzpatrick's not there. Najee Harris is banged up. It's like all of these things, but we've seen this Steelers team, fight at home. So I dig that. Another one that I'm going with here, and this is more of like a bet it now for me, right? And I bet it this morning. So whatever. Jaguars +2.5 against Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. To me, this isn't really a road game. I mean, Jacksonville and Tampa Bay, they're in state, and while they might be far enough away, whatever, it's not really that bad of a game. Here's the thing. This line's going to move dramatically if Trevor Lawrence comes back. Dramatically if Trevor Lawrence comes back. Even if he doesn't come back, though, I still like the Jags getting 2.5 points here. Because I'm really supposed to put all of my stock into Baker Mayfield, right? I'm supposed he's coming off of a fantastic. You talk about, teams coming off of big blowouts there. He's coming off of like a phenomenal game this past week. Chris Godwin was explosive and this, that, the other thing. And the Jaguars secondary is crap and blah, 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 right? It's still Baker Mayfield. And yes, he can utilize Rachaad White and lean on Rachaad White plenty, but I don't know. I'll tell you what, if Trevor Lawrence was playing in this game, there's no way the Jags are going to be underdogs by by the 2.5 points. There's no way. This game would probably be a pick 'em. You could probably turn around and say that the Jags plus minus like 1.5 even. Like that's the way it's going to go if Trevor Lawrence plays. So I'll bet it now. I'll take my 2.5 points because I think even CJ Beathard can keep it close against Tampa Bay. Their secondary is terrible. Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis are great names. Neither of them have been staying healthy this year. And there's just so much soft coverage. They funnel everything into the middle of the field and then don't know how to defend the middle of the field. So I will, I'll err on that, the Jaguars side here, and I'll take the points. And I'll tell you what, if Trevor Lawrence clears concussion protocol, right, and they announce that on Saturday, this game probably becomes a pick 'em, I bet.
Yeah, I agree. I think they could flip to Jags being the favorites if Lawrence definitely is cleared because he practiced today apparently, and Peterson seemed a little optimistic when he gave his press conference that he might be able to play. But
I saw that. That doesn't mean anything to me. When the independent neurologist clears him via concussion protocol, then it's okay. That's the problem with concussion protocol is that they dupe people into thinking what's going to happen, right? CJ Stroud was back at practice. I mean, he wasn't, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, they're back at practice in a limited fashion or whatever. They're not like practicing. They're like going through the motions here and seeing if they get dizzy and throw up or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So anybody can, speculate all they want. I want to hear from the independent neurologist. I want to hear him clear concussion protocol. And when that happens, then I'll open up the door for Evan Engram props, Calvin Ridley props. I'll do that all day long when you tell me who my quarterback is.
Yeah. Even though you said, this is like a road game, but not really for the Jags, they've actually played better on the road this year against the spread and overall this year. They actually have some better numbers on the road than at home. So that's interesting. All right. I'm going to give me another underdog here on Saturday. Chargers plus the 12.5 here against the Bills.
Yeah, you said you were doing this on Wednesday. That's why I left it.
Thank you for leaving it for me. I figured one of us had to do this because, listen, Chargers just fired Brandon Staley. This is, their first game after firing a head coach. We saw it with the Raiders and Panthers already this year. This is just one of those trends, honestly, that, these bad teams that fire their coach, there's just a little added effort and maybe the market's down on them, obviously. But the next game, their spreads, winning outright, but also covering spreads has just been, a little tick higher. Here's some quick stats. So over the past 15 years, teams in their first game after firing their coach, 20-12 against the spread. And since 2020, it's 8-2 against the spread. And again, Raiders and Panthers both covered spreads early this year after firing their coach. So it's 2-0 this season already. Since, over the past 20 years or so, teams are about, 500, both straight up and slightly over 500 against the spread in games firing their head coach. But it requires context because these are bad teams that were, sub 500, not covering spreads a lot. So you just got to raise expectations a little bit. And this is the lowest the market has been on the Chargers all season in terms of their spread as this big of an underdog. But, on the other side, just kind of selling high a little bit on the Bills here because they've looked great. I mean, they're coming off of big wins over the Chiefs and Cowboys these past 2 weeks. I mean, everyone's basically writing them in. They're a playoff team. They're real contenders now. But coming up in these next 2 games for the Bills, they got rivalry divisional games against the Patriots and the Dolphins. I think they're going to be – this is a weird little sandwich spot against a bad Chargers team. This spread is screaming a backdoor cover all the way for the Chargers who, they just got killed, blown out against the Raiders last Thursday. But they kept playing late. They scored a few touchdowns late. Like they did not stop trying after such a terrible start. And I'm just kind of banking on the Chargers offensively having a little bit of a better game plan for Easton Stick. We've talked about that a few times on this show is that, it just didn't. They didn't start the game out well in that last one with Easton Stick, and got to lean on the run more in this game. Got to get some more design runs for Stick, in my opinion. So, another instance where just kind of historically teams coming off of huge losses tend to cover the spread in their next game because the market is very much down on them. So, yeah, give me the Chargers here.
All right. I mean, yeah, I said I knew you were going to do it. It worked for us twice this year. Let's see if third time's a charm, and we go from there. I'm taking the Colts. I'm taking the points that you're giving me, 2.5. Michael Pittman back at practice today. Jonathan Taylor off the injury report, good to go. I'm not saying that this line should move in any way, but who the hell is trusting the Atlanta Falcons at this point? I can't trust them. Not at all. Not at all. Listen, their defense has a solid ground game. Okay. They're good, solid run D. It's not, the greatest in the world, but it's also not the worst. So, I think Jonathan Taylor can run on them. I have a fun fact about the Atlanta run defense that I'll share later on in the show here when I give you another one of my bets later on. But for me right now here, I mean, with Pittman back and Downs and Pierce and, everything that the Colts have going for themselves, not to mention the fact that they are in strong contention for the division. Yes, so are the Atlanta Falcons. But how many times have we seen the Falcons shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over again? They can win this game. I don't care. But, I think the Colts keep it, at least super close, if not win this one outright. So Colts plus 2.5, solid.
Found it very interesting that as soon as we got news that Taylor Heineke was named the starter for the Falcons, that the Falcons became favorites in the game. And I was like, I don't think the spread should move that much. So
no, I thought that was, and the funny thing is that the only reason like Mason Rudolph is starting, that Taylor Heineke is starting, is because both Tomlin and Smith are on the hot seat and they could be fired at the end of the year. So what you do here is, Tomlin doesn't have Matt Canada anymore, and Arthur Smith just has nowhere to hide at all. So what they do is they throw the quarterback under the bus, and they say, well, I couldn't possibly win. You look at this quarterback that you gave me. I had to turn to the backup quarterback, and look at how crappy the backup quarterback is. So you've got like human shield Mason Rudolph and human shield Taylor Heineke, which, hopefully does not fool ownership in either situation.
All right, my next pick here involving a couple of other interesting quarterback situations. How about Case Keenum versus Joe Flacco? This feels like a little 2015 matchup between Keenum and Flacco. Give me the Browns here, minus the 3, even on the road at the Texans here. I just think this is, we said before the show when we went live here, Howard, that I was going to, maybe change things up, go with some vibes, and the vibes on the Browns and Joe Flacco are very high for me right now. This guy is turning back the clock. He's throwing for 300-plus yards in back-to-back games. He's throwing for touchdowns left and right. And the Texans, C.J. Stroud out again with his concussion. So we got Case Keenum starting again. They're coming off an overtime win last week against the Titans. I just think it's going to be a little bit of a letdown because the next 2 games, so next week they face the Titans again, and then they're playing the Colts in the regular season finale. The Texans are looking to win this AFC South division. This is kind of like a weird, intra-conference matchup against the Browns, which I just don't think they're going to be as up for it as they just were against the Titans. They will be again next week against the Titans, and then the Colts to wrap up. But the Browns, with Flacco under center, the offense is looking a little bit more vertical. Like he's pushing it down the field, firing away at 40 to 50 passing attempts in most of these games, these past 3. And the Texans defense is weaker against the pass than the run. So I think this is a spot where the Browns can have success through the air on the offensive side. Browns defense, we know, one of the best in the league, the best in the league against the pass. So I see them frustrating Case Keenum here, which he just had a much easier matchup against the Titans last week. Still, the offense didn't look great. So, give me the Browns here, minus the 3, plus 100 on BetMGM.
I can dig that. I could definitely dig that. All right. I'm going to give one last one, and it's going to be a game total, actually. And that is Packers-Panthers. Packers, Panthers, I'm taking the under 37.5 in this game. I mean, just look at what the Panthers games have looked like in the, the last, I don't even know what. Here, wait a sec. I can count it for you right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 4, and 1. The under is 9, 4, and 1 in Panthers games, and 3 out of the last 4. If you watch what the Panthers have been doing since since they fired all their coaching staff, they've basically just been like, look at Chuba Hubbard with 20 plus carries in each game. They're running the clock out. They just, it's like, let's just get out of here. We know that we don't have firepower. We know our quarterback is still learning. We know that we're a terrible team right now. So let's get the hell out of here as quickly as possible. And let's run the ball. Let's keep the clock moving. Long, sustained drives, whether they get anywhere or not, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant about the points. So they just keep chewing up the clock. So, I think that with the Packers and having, even the Packers, like, even if they get Christian Watson back, if Jaden Reed is healthy and he plays, it doesn't matter to me because you've got J.C. Horn and Jeremy Chin back. So if the Panthers just focus on stopping Aaron Jones, and okay, go ahead, Jordan Love, good luck in Carolina on the road. We've seen you struggle on the road before, so I just look at this game and I just don't see a lot of points. I know 37.5, it's a little on the low side, but I mean, I mean, would a 24-10 game surprise you in any way, shape, or form? No, it would not. So give me the under in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you on this. I looked at the Packers in this game solely because of what you're saying about the Panthers offense. Just they are, you can't trust them to put up more than 20 points. Obviously, right now it's just I don't see how they keep it too close against the Packers here.
You can't pencil in the Panthers for 10 points.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, my last game pick here. By the way, Molroyd in the chat saying he likes Njoku over 50.5 yards in that Browns game. I might agree with you once we get to our player props in a second here. All right, my last game pick, Monday Night Football on Christmas night. Give me the Ravens plus the 5.5 in this game against the 49ers. I just think this is I know how good the 49ers have looked. They're killing teams left and right, but this is too many points you're giving the Ravens here. This is like a really, really strong team, and I don't see how this is a more than a touchdown or more win for the 49ers. I think the Ravens are keeping this close. I also think they're very live to win this game. This is also against the spread trends that I just have to back the Ravens as underdogs and Lamar Jackson as an underdog. Lamar Jackson as a dog in his career, 11-2 against the spread, 8-5 straight up. Ravens as dogs since 2018, 19-5 against the spread. It's just been a very profitable strategy to back the Ravens and Lamar Jackson as an underdog. He doesn't have great against the spread trends as a favorite, but as a dog, he is very good. And I found this very interesting. Didn't even realize this until I looked at it. 7 straight underdogs have won outright on Monday Night Football. How about that? 7 straight. So, give me 8 straight here with the Ravens. And you know what? The Ravens have been very impressive on the road this season. 6-1 straight up on the road. So give me Baltimore as the dogs here.
What's the Ravens money line also? What's that look like?
It's probably
plus 195.
Not bad.
Interesting. All right. Hit some props.
Let's hit some props here. Where are you going with one of yours?
I'm going to go quick and easy here. Tyler Boyd over 3.5 receptions. It's plus 100. I know he's only caught like 2 passes in the last couple of games, but Jamar Chase is out. All right. Pittsburgh is incredibly weak against the slot. So when they do go to 3 receiver sets, Boyd's going to move to the inside while either Trenton Irwin or Yeshivas is going to be on the outside, stretching that field. So Tyler Boyd over the middle of the field, like I said, Kazee is out, Minkah Fitzpatrick is out. I just think that they need to lean on Tyler Boyd here with Jamar Chase out. because the heavy coverage is going to fall. Like Joey Porter is going to be on T. Higgins the whole time. So
yeah.
Tyler Boyd over 3.5 receptions plus money too.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good target with Chase out for sure. All right, I'll stay in that same game. Got a little double dip here on Deontay Johnson's props. Taking the over on his 3.5 receptions and the over on his 45.5 receiving yards in this game. Just looking at his involvement and production has ticked up now since the offensive coordinator changed from Matt Canada with Pittsburgh. He has at least 4 catches in 3 of the last 4 games. Also has at least 50 receiving yards in 3 of the last 4 games. I just think this yards prop is a little low because he also has 48 receiving yards or more in 7 of 10 games this season. I know, the vibes have been low on him and the Steelers offense, but I just think these lines are just a tad low for him. Also, just banking on the quarterback change here to Mason Rudolph, I think it's going to result in Deontay Johnson being one of his top receiving targets. If you are familiar with the Bengals defense, like a spot to target them is over the middle with tight ends. So, I looked at a Pat Freiermuth prop here, but I also think Deontay Johnson maybe, playing over the middle, catching some passes can have success. But the quarterback change to Rudolph. Look back at Rudolph's starts with the Steelers over the past 5 years or so here. So we started 1 game in 2021. Deontay Johnson had 7 catches for 83 yards. Rudolph started 1 game in 2020. Deontay Johnson 3 catches for 96 yards. He played in 8 games in 2019 with Big Ben out. Deontay Johnson had 4+ catches in 5 of 8 games. Also had 50+ receiving yards in 5 of 8 games. So he had been a favorite target whenever Rudolph was under center. He was looking Deontay Johnson's way a lot. So I think that's going to keep going here with the pressure on Pittsburgh just to go in here and get the win. I like Steelers as the home dogs and going with a couple props here with Deontay Johnson.
Right on. All right, so we both hit a little Saturday action. I'm going to stay on Saturday for a second. I'm just going to take James Cook over 68.5 rushing yards. I just love the work that Cook has done. I was talking about it the other day on whether it was Alarm Fantasy Football or the Fantasy Alarm Show, but over the last 4 weeks, James Cook has just been insane. Like, he has been an absolute beast since they changed from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady. Joe Brady knows exactly how to utilize James Cook, both in the running game and in the passing game as well. I'll just stay with the rushing yards here because there is obvious concern that if Buffalo just goes up, they have no reason to throw. And that's what happened to me with Kyron Williams yesterday. So I will err on the side of caution here and just take the over on the rushing yards for James Cook because, I think, it's not a good, you might get your backdoor cover, but this run defense for the Chargers is just so bad. So bad.
Well, I agree. I think the game script is definitely in favor of James Cook in this one. I am just hoping for a little backdoor touchdown from the Chargers, but if they're going to be up and they're going to be feeding Cook a lot here, I think in the second half. So
everybody loves a little backdoor action sometimes there, Servo. Don't worry about it. Doesn't full on or just the pinky? It doesn't really matter. Whichever it is, whatever floats your boat, everybody.
All right, I'm going to move on from that. Give me Isaiah Likely in that Monday Night Football Ravens 49ers game. Isaiah Likely over 36.5 receiving yards. This is a prop. This is now the 3rd straight week I'm going with Isaiah Likely's receiving yards because I still think it's too low. In his 3 games as the Ravens starting tight end with Mark Andrews out, he has 40, 83, and 70 receiving yards in these past 3 games. He's emerged as a legit weapon in this Ravens offense. And I think in this game, they're going to have to lean on his playmaking. Now with Keaton Mitchell out, Likely is one of those guys that just has that, after the catch playmaking ability. So it's a tough matchup, obviously, against the 49ers. They're pretty good against tight ends, but I just think this line is too low. Looking back now through the whole season, lead tight ends, starting tight ends, with Mark Andrews. Andrews had 40+ receiving yards in 8 of 9 games before he got hurt. 35 in the one other game, so right under this line. But you put them together, Likely and Andrews, starting tight ends for the Ravens, have combined to go for 40-plus receiving yards in 11 of their 12 games as the tight end one. So I just think this is a little too low for how good he's been, how much the tight end is used in this Todd Monken Ravens offense. So, yeah, give me the over on his receiving yards.
I like that. My fantasy teams like that too. No doubt. Oh, I gotta just shout out the chat here, right? What?
I said you got a bunch of shout outs rolling in here.
Right. I want to shout out the chat here, right? Tootsie Pop, Rachel, Angie's in here, Gridiron Angie, and then what is that? It's Komami High Desert. Ooh, howdy. Yeah, listen, it's great to see everybody in here. A little weird. I was talking about some backdoor action, and all of a sudden, everybody was like, "Hey, Howard, how are you?" So, a little ironic there, but whatever. I love it, man. I love the crew here.
They heard the comment and they're like, "Oh wait, that is Howard making that comment." Okay,
that is Howard making that comment. That Kumami High Desert, the tight end whispered. That's right, I did. I'm going DJ Moore here with my next prop. Over 64.5 receiving yards. It's minus 120. I mean, I love Justin Fields and DJ Moore in this matchup against Arizona. I really do. It's just Arizona's not a good defense. I see the Bears kind of dominating in this one, and this is always one of those games when you get to face a team like Arizona. Like that's everybody's time to shine, right? That's like where Justin Fields is going to take off. His rushing yards prop looked a little high for me. I was looking at that. That looked a little high, but DJ Moore at 64.5 receiving yards against the secondary, that I'm 100% in for, Servo.
Yeah, I looked at Justin Fields' rushing prop too, but it did seem just a little too high because, I do think he's going to have a good game against this Cardinals defense, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of DJ Moore for sure in that matchup. Yeah. All right, Jorge Edwards saying he loves the Action Comic #1 in the background for you, Howard.
Right up top. That's just a metal sign. It's not the real Action Comics, obviously, because it's way too big.
All right, I'll go with another receiving yards prop here. Drake London over 53.5 receiving yards for the Falcons. So the quarterback change to Taylor Heineke. I think it's going to benefit London a little bit here, and the passing game overall, just taking a little bit step forward. I think there's going to be, London and Pitts going to have much better games this week. In Heineke's 3 games played for Atlanta this year, London has had 55, 56, and 36 receiving yards. So he's been over this prop in 2 of 3 games with Heineke playing for the Falcons. But Drake London overall, over his last 9 games, he's over this in 6 of his last 9. Has also played much better at home this year. 60-plus receiving yards in 5 of his last 6 home games, averaging 93 receiving yards per game. Has a couple of big efforts there at home. I think it's a guy that clearly favors playing, in the dome, on the turf there in Atlanta. And I think the quarterback change maybe brings a little bit of life into the Atlanta offense. The Colts, by the way, have allowed at least 60 receiving yards to a wide receiver 1 in 5 straight games too. So they've struggled against top wideouts. So I think Drake London could have some success there. You can still get your Colts bet to come through, Howard, but just give me some Drake London receiving yards.
Yeah, listen, like that's how you attack the Colts defense, right? They're weak on the outside. Their cover corners aren't good. So yeah, I think that if London's going to be, working the outside, they can find him downfield. I'm totally cool with that. I like that. Indeed. My final prop is one that I kind of alluded to earlier. Chuba Hubbard over 16.5 rushing attempts. It's just this is what we've got with Carolina. They're not a good team. They're just going to keep feeding him the football. See if he can, kind of keep withstanding this load. Then you know what? Then you can get rid of Miles Sanders next year or in the offseason. Keep Chuba Hubbard over there. And utilize him as your starting running back. Let him just stay in here with this crew. I mean, I don't love Chuba Hubbard. I'm not saying this dude's the be all end all, but this dude has had over 20 carries in each of the last 3 games. And this is what they're doing. This is what the new coaching staff is laying out. So Chuba Hubbard over 16.5 rushing attempts for me.
Yeah, they're giving him all the work and really phasing out Miles Sanders in that offense. I went under on Miles Sanders rushing yards, or maybe it was just carries a couple games ago, and it cashed because they're clearly like, all right, we got to give Hubbard the work. He's going to be our lead running back next year probably, so we got to get him. All right, my last pick here, alluded to it with Mulroyd saying he likes the over on David Njoku's receiving yards here. And yeah, I'm going there. 49.5 is the number I got on BetMGM. But, look around to see where you get that. But yeah, I think David Njoku goes over his receiving yards here because he has been the guy, emerged as Joe Flacco's go-to guy lately. Last week, he had 10 catches for 104 yards. Had 6 for 81 yards the game before. His targets have increased over the past 3 games since Flacco took over. He's got 6, 8, and 14 targets these past 3. Also has 50-plus receiving yards in 5 of the last 6 games and 7 of the last 9. So even before Flacco was there, Njoku was producing in this Cleveland offense. And now he faces a Texans defense that struggled against tight ends all year. They've allowed some big yardage, big reception games to opposing tight ends pretty much on a weekly basis. So targeting that matchup with a guy that's been rolling with Joe Flacco.
I can dig it, man. Listen, I love Njoku. It's about time he started seeing like his mad crazy targets as he's getting.
Yeah.
So quite a handsome man. Like, have you seen David Njoku? I mean, the hair is completely
awesome hair.
He's got a beautiful face and a chiseled body. Like when he burned himself, do you remember when he burned his face? Right. Oh. And he came walking into the stadium and he had like that mask on, that like skull mask. Right. But if you looked at the rest of him, he had this this pimped out coat that he was wearing with no shirt and this washboard abs. I was just like, damn. Njoku, a beautiful, beautiful man.
Yeah, he's pretty jacked. He's one of those guys that's it's funny because he was in all those trade rumors not too long ago with the Browns, but he stayed there and now he's having a great season with Cleveland. All right, let's wrap things up here with our touchdown predictions for Week 16. Touchdown. All right, touchdown calls here. I'll go first because this is one that I've had circled ever since the season started and pretty much going back years now. I'm getting hooked here because Boston Scott, anytime touchdown, he's the giant killer, okay? If you're an Eagles or Giants fan, you definitely know this. If you're a casual, you probably caught on by now because 9 career games against the Giants, right? For Boston Scott, 9 games. He scored a touchdown in all 9 games, okay? This is just one of those things that just keeps happening, okay? And he's not playing a ton this year. He's the 3rd running back behind DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Gainwell, so there's really no analysis, X's and O's to break down here with Boston Scott. But I can tell you, when the Eagles are down near the goal line, I don't think the tush push is coming. I think they're handing it off to Boston Scott to keep this streak going. So, yeah, give me Boston Scott anytime touchdown. It's plus 350 on BetMGM. Wish the odds were better. They should be better, but everyone's betting this. So that's why it's gone down a little bit, but I don't care. Give me Boston Scott touchdown.
Everybody's betting it, so of course it's going to hit. Come on. All right, my touchdown, I've got 2 actually here. One for realsies and then the other one for funsies. How about that?
Okay.
For realsies here, DK Metcalf, his anytime touchdown prop is plus 100 on BetMGM, which, listen, it's the Tennessee Titans. Can he score on them? Yes, their secondary is atrocious. He's phenomenal. And, whatever. I mean, Geno Smith is back. Even if it is Drew Lock, I'd still be okay with that. But, plus 100, I mean, what do we want? Even money for a touchdown? No, let's parlay that with a Seahawks win. for plus 175 on BetMGM, because I don't think the Seahawks are losing to the Tennessee Titans, who are dunzo for the rest of the year. So Metcalf anytime touchdown parlayed with a Seahawks win is plus 175 on BetMGM. That's where I'm going with that one. And then for funsies, here you go. So get this, Servo. The Atlanta Falcons, as much as I hate the Atlanta Falcons, solid DVOA against the run. The Falcons have not allowed a rushing touchdown to a running back all season long. The Falcons have allowed 5 rushing touchdowns this season, and they've all been to quarterbacks, right? Kyler Murray, Clayton Tune. I'm trying to remember who else it was, but it's all. Oh, Josh Dobbs had one. It's so 5 rushing touchdowns allowed, only to quarterbacks, none to anybody else. Gardner Minshew plus 450 for an anytime touchdown. Listen, I wouldn't do this with like any other quarterback, but Minshew's a guy who does take advantage of that. Like when he's inside the 5-yard line, he's one to just take off and run it in himself, right? A little fake to Jonathan Taylor so that the defense commits to it, and Gardner Minshew just runs it to the outside or goes the other way and runs one in. So that's the one for funsies. I'm going to be sprinkle a little bit on that. The Metcalf one with the Seahawks, the plus 175. I just think that's a great bet anyway. But yeah, the Minshew one, plus 450. How about that, right? No rushing touchdowns allowed to a running back all season long. 5 rushing touchdowns allowed, all to QBs.
That's pretty wild. I mean, when you were going through that, I had a certain play pictured in my mind, and then you just started describing it. Was the fake to Jonathan Taylor, defense crashes down, and Minshew just kind of leaks out and then walks in.
Touchdown.
Plus 450 on BetMGM. Cash it. All right.
Ba-boom.
All right. Appreciate everyone tuning in here. Oh, there's a picture of David Njoku.
Look at him. That is a handsome, handsome man. I wish I was sculpted like that.
Yeah, that guy has like 2% body fat, if that.
But the face too. It's a moneymaker. Yeah. It's a handsome guy. That dude is going to be, he should be like modeling after his football career is over.
All right, that's about it for us. Appreciate everyone jumping in here on the chat and tuning in on a Friday to our picks and props and all that for week 16. We'll be back next week, but good luck with all of your own bets today. Howard, awesome stuff. Well, hopefully we come back, winners this weekend with some Christmas money in our pocket. How about that?
Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate you hitting the like button on this show, on the subscribe button on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube page. Appreciate everything that we do this because you guys are a fantastic audience. Merry Christmas to you, Mulroyd.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Mulroyd, and everyone else tuning in here. Good luck, and we'll catch you guys later.